A good Muganda is a dead one. A dissection of the misconceptions by RONALD SSEMYALO. Chapter 1. The Origin. I have to confess that however much many of our people from the central region, notably Uganda, though may not necessarily believe that the former Premier and President of the Republic of Uganda, His Excellency the late Milton Obote, is condemned or held in another perspective to have aired out this statement, "A good Muganda is the dead one." It might not be true. Someone may ask that if the above is not true, then what is true about him? If it is really true, I still believe that it wasn't his creation. Maybe he transplanted the phrase from George Orwell's book called 1948, in which Orwell mentioned that a good human being is a dead one. This makes me link my understanding with the late that maybe after parting ways with his Uganda cronies, he chose to transform it into "A good Muganda is a dead one." At the face of it, the statement mentioned up there makes some sense, but is it really true? I mean, is that what the late Obote said? Okay, let's believe he said it. Why would he say such a terrible statement before the nation whose majority population is made up of Uganda? Another query would be, why would he utter such nonsense, yet his wife Miria Kalule Obote was a Muganda? Something is not adding. I just want to wonder why someone would publicly attack the spouse's tribe, yet they have offsprings together. This is equivalent to attacking one's own blood. No matter the hatred President Obote had on Uganda, this statement was too strong, myopic, barbaric, uncouth, and backward. It was not only unnecessary but also annoying, demeaning, and absurd. A total disgrace to his wife's family, his people, and the president himself. If it be true that the statement was wrong, whoever released it shall never see heaven, and if it be true that the president spoke it, he was a man and a half. Putting assumptions aside, someone with a sober mind who has read the book of George Orwell called 1948 may quote a line saying, "A good human being is a dead one." In this scenario, that person may take an assumption that one day President Obote was pissed off by a person who was known to be a Muganda and was lured into uttering such a deadly statement, knowing its magnitude or without knowing. One elder, a great historian, one of the time one day mentioned that the late Obote, Milton, a former president of Uganda, married one Miria Kalule, a true Muganda, and the couple lived happily together with their children. Unfortunately, however, they hosted a relative from the wife's side who fell ill for quite a good time without anyone from home coming to check on him. The in-law, by then President Obote, wondered why no one visited the patient. At the end, the patient consequently passed on, and whatever happened left the man of the house in total exclamation when he saw the relatives gathering to mourn the late's death. He spoke, "My in-laws never showed up when the patient was still ill and only came when dead. Do you mean a good Muganda is a dead one?" President Obote inquired after multiple exclamations, for he had numerous unanswered questions in his house. It was a fair question, clearly understandable. However, the journalists perceived and reported differently. It was written everywhere that Obote, president, said that a good Muganda is a dead one. It came at the time when the former president, who was once a darling with a Kiganda named Bwete, had attained a terrible one called Kawenkene. If it be true that the late sincerely spoke these words in a query form, the nation must apologize to him, because up to now there are many souls cursing him because of this statement. However, if it be true that it was a plain malicious statement, may the world forgive you and let your soul rest in peace. I may not dig deep into the entire historical relations between the late president of Uganda, His Excellency Milton Obote, and some Baganda. However, I'll touch into a series of assumptions many people prefer hearing.